Everyone, I'm Lou the Rocker Witch, and I'm here with another Witchcraft 101 video. I'm thinking of making this series like a little more regular. I've done like the odd video here and there, but now I really want to just kind of do it on like a weekly or every 2 weeks kind of basis and just make it a more regular thing. So today is that I'm filming this. I'm going to put this up. It is summer solstice. Happy summer solstice to all of you. And for those of you in the southern hemisphere, it's winter solstice. So happy winter solstice to you as well. So summer solstice, if I could say that properly, also known as Litha. In the pagan calendar, the wheel of the year, so to speak, is a celebration of, a astronomical event that happens every year. I know some of you are in the southern hemisphere, so like I said, it is the winter solstice, but I'm going to be talking specifically about the summer solstice. Because people can watch this video whenever, and it is summer solstice here where I live, so that's why I'm talking about that here. So summer solstice is an event that it's an astronomical event. It's when the sun is the longest day of the year, the most hours of daylight, the least hours of night, of darkness, and so it's been a point that's been celebrated for thousands and thousands of years in one form or another throughout the world in various ways. So, one of the most famous ones, of course, is at Stonehenge. There's a big summer solstice festival. They let people onto the grounds. I think this year they're doing like a live stream thing because of the whole COVID thing. I don't know if they're actually allowing people on the site or maybe a small number. I'm not sure, but they were doing a live stream type thing. I'm not sure. I'll have to check the news later today to see how that all went, what exactly happened. But I know most years, not 2020, but most years, people have been allowed on the site. Now, part of the issue is that sometimes there's so many people on the site that it has sometimes caused damage to the site, which is unfortunate. You'd think that people would respect the site, but that's a whole side rant to go on. But that's one of the most famous ones. There's also the Midsummer Festival in Sweden, which celebrates the solstice, and they have a maypole that they put up, or what we call a maypole. We usually associate maypoles with Beltane, but in the Swedish festival, there's a maypole that goes up for summer solstice. Now, I suspect that like here, where I live, if summer is in full swing, we had a very brief spring, and now we have summer. It's full on summer, but May Day it's not very springy, it's not very summery. It's kind of cold and brown and whatever, which is probably why in Sweden, and if anyone's Swedish here, please correct me if I'm wrong, the celebrations that kind of look May Day like go with the summer solstice. The other thing is as well that in Norse mythology and practices in the ancient days, they celebrated, Vikings and the Norse and Germanics celebrated more like the equinoxes and the solstices, and then the 4 other holidays that get spread around the wheel of the year, Imbolc, Beltane, Samhain, and Lunasa are Celtic-based holidays. And in sort of more modern Wicca and neo-paganism, those festivals kind of all got smushed together because they're all sort of Northern European, which is what, Wicca is based on. So that's why those 8 festivals kind of go in the wheel of the year. Also, Gerald Gardner, he kind of put them on the wheel of the year as well. You also have to understand that in English magic is often a mix of Celtic and Germanic practices because of the heritage that's there, along with other things as well. It's not just that. It's kind of a mix of a whole bunch of things. I'm being very generic here, so I'm sure there's exceptions for sure. But anyway, solstice, Litha, it is one of the major holidays in the pagan wheel of the year. Now, I encourage you to make your own wheel of the year. If the wheel of the year doesn't make sense for where you live, if you, we all don't all live in Northern Europe, then adjust it as you see fit. You can even, like, if you don't celebrate certain days, take them out. If you do like certain ones, put them in, do what works for you. I really encourage people to develop their own spiritual practice, because spirituality is a personal thing. No one can kind of tell you what your spirituality should look like. But if you are celebrating summer solstice, some ideas that you can use for your celebration and your rituals are, think of the colors that go with summer solstice. Things like gold, yellow, orange, red, these solar hot fire type colors. You might want to use decorations in those colors or a candle in that color. I've also seen green, like especially like a bright green being used, as well as rose, because roses are also associated with the summer solstice. This is usually when they start to bloom in a lot of areas. So colors like that you can use in your decorations, on your altar, candle colors, ribbon colors if you're using ribbon magic. You can use things like that when you're thinking of designing spells and rituals. Herbs that are associated with summer solstice. I keep tripping over my words saying that. Summer solstice. Litha. Litha's easy to say. Let's say litha. Herbs that are associated with litha are things like rosemary, thyme, mugwort. There's also roses, lavender, as well as a chamomile, marigold as well, because it's a very solar type of flower is associated with it, mint and sage. So lots of very herbaceous types of herbs. And then St. John's wort is one that's very much associated with summer solstice, because St. John's wort, I believe it blooms around this time of year. It has to do with the amount of light that's going on. And St. John's wort is considered, because it blooms at this time of year, that's why it's very much associated with this time of year. So those are all herbs that you can use in rituals as well. If you're, designing like a sachet bag, or you're putting herbs into your ritual, or some people will throw them into a bonfire as well with wishes, because they're considered sacred herbs to this particular time of year. Crystals that you can incorporate are citrine, honey calcite, orange calcite, carnelian, all these very fiery. Amber's another one that gets associated, because they're all very like the solar type colors. They're associated with the solar plexus, with the sunlight. So those are crystals that you can incorporate as well into your rituals. Another one is holy stones. They're stones with a hole in them, and it's believed that if you peer into them, you can see fairies, and fairies are associated with this time of year. So fairies are associated with both Beltane and the summer solstice. For me personally, I really associate the summer solstice with fairies because it is the time when things are just starting to really bloom here. We're getting flowers, all that kind of stuff. So for me personally, this is the time of year when things just really have exploded. It's very green. We're in summer, and it does have that very sort of, we've got these, these short summer nights, because I'm in quite, being in the Canadian prairies, we do experience, maybe not like what the Arctic does, of course, but, the sun doesn't go down here till like 10 o'clock at night at this time of year. It gets up early, so we have these very short kind of nights going on. And there's something very magical about these long sort of summer evenings that I just associate with like the Fae, and there's this, lengthy sort of in-between time going on. So I associate very much with the Fae. So images of the fairies leaving out fairy offerings can be good as well in your garden. That's something that you can do for the summer solstice. Summer solstice, of course, when it comes to gods or goddesses that you want to work with, is associated with solar gods and goddesses because it's the height of the year. The sun's at its height. So, Lu in the Celtic pantheon, we have Balder in the Norse pantheon. There's Apollo in the Greek one, or Helios, which is an older name. There's also Adonis is another one as well. Baal, there's I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Is it Amaterasu? She is the Japanese goddess of the sun. Vishnu, like all these solar type gods and goddesses. And in the Norse pantheon, the sun is actually depicted as a woman and the moon as a man. So there's Sol, the goddess, there's like the sun goddess, and then there's also Mani is the moon goddess. So a lot of cultures, the sun is depicted as male, but not all of them. And in the Norse pantheon, like Balder, I associate with the solar god as well, because he's sort of this youthful, handsome, young man that often gets associated with solar type energy. But the sun itself was considered to be female. So, if you don't like working with male deities, there are plenty of sun goddesses that you can work with as well. And the summer solstice is a time for making big wishes. So if you have like a big goal, a big dream that you're working on, manifesting for the year, this is a great time to do rituals around that. It's a good time to honor the Fae folk. It's a good time to honor yourself as well and all of your accomplishments, to honor the light that shines within you. As well, to honor your own solar type energy, which resides in your solar plexus. So your will, your energy, ego, I use that in a positive way, not the negative way, but your sense of self. So blessing your sense of self, your body, honoring your body as well is another thing that you can do during the summer solstice. Summer solstice as well this year coincides with a solar eclipse, which is unusual. So solar eclipses kind of bring a bit of chaotic energy to this particular summer solstice. They make it extra powerful, but so it's a good time to enact some changes, to ask for big wishes, but they might come about in surprising ways because eclipses bring changes and surprises in ways that we don't always expect. So it adds a little bit of chaotic energy to this particular summer solstice, but I still encourage you to ask for those big dreams, to make those big wishes. A traditional way to ask for wishes is bonfires are associated with this time of year. So people would sometimes state a wish and throw an herb into the fire. Some people would jump over the fire. Now, of course, be safe. Don't do dangerous things. I don't want anyone doing dangerous things. But you incorporating fire into ritual, because it is a solar celebration, can add a lot of energy. And also, like I said, we have this solar eclipse going on, so there's all sorts of crazy solar energy happening. So I hope this gives you some ideas of elements you can use when you're designing your own summer solstice ritual. And it doesn't have to be some big giant fancy thing. You can light a yellow candle and make a wish. You can, get out your favorite card deck with fairies on it and pull some cards and do a reading for yourself. You can throw, some lavender, into a bonfire if you're having a bonfire, make some wishes. You don't have to make it a big giant production. Do what's right for you. That's why I always say, keep it simple, work with what you have. You don't have to go out and buy fancy things, and do what works for you and make it meaningful for you, not just something you picked out of a book. But it's good to get inspiration from books too, right? It's good to get that inspiration. And sometimes we have to start with that to gain the confidence to go out and do our own things and make our own rituals. But nobody gets to tell you what your spirituality looks like. So I hope this gives you some ideas. I hope you have a blessed solstice, whichever side of the world you're on, whether it's winter or solar or summer solstice for you. And just, in my Patreon, we are working with Eclipse Magic this month, so it's not too late to join if you're interested in that. And I wanted to say thank you to all my patrons. You guys are awesome and amazing. I love you all. And especially to Jamie, Nathan, and Marie. Big shout out to you guys. As always, thank you as well for watching this and for all the comments. And like and subscribe. I'll see you all next time. And as always, peace and love and rock.